Hello and welcome to today's episode, which is all about veganising that classic dessert, chocolate mousse. The person that requested the peanut butter and jelly cookies and the chocolate salami has been on and asked for some chocolate mousse. So I said I'd see what I could do, and today's the day that I have a crack at it. Since going vegan, I've found a few different chocolate mousse recipes, and I haven't found one that I liked. One of them used chia seeds, but that came out very firm, more like a pudding, very solid rather than light and airy. So I've kind of done a bit of looking online, found a couple of recipes, but I'm loosely basing them off. The proportions are mostly going to be from one on A Lazy Cat Kitchen. I'll stick the link in the description for you. Theirs uses just chocolate, aquafaba and a bit of sugar. I'm going to do the same, but I'm also going to put in some avocado, puree that down just to get a nice bit of rich fattiness going on in there to kind of mimic what we're losing from the cream. I'm going to flavour my chocolate mousse with limoncello. This is a vodka-based liqueur that I made in the dishwasher. I'll stick a card at the end for you. I just did lemon peels with vodka, a bit of sugar, and ran it through the dishwasher. And it's heaven in a bottle. Pop in a little bit of this just to give a slight lemon brightness and a bit of a boozy kick to it, which should be lovely. And then to complement the lemon flavour in the mousse, I'm going to pop some candied peel on the top. Infusing the vodka left me with loads of lemon peel, and it just felt a bit wrong to chuck them all in the bin. So I stuck them in the fridge for a week, not really knowing what to do with them. And then last night thought, oh, I will candy those. All I did was poach them in a simple sugar syrup, which was 2 cups of golden castor sugar, 3 cups of water. Simmered those away, I think it was about 25 minutes all in all, until they went translucent. You'll know the peel's ready when it goes very bendy and soft, and it doesn't taste bitter anymore. I then sieved the peel and then put the syrup in a separate bottle. And then I think I can use that for making lemon juice. So squeeze a lemon, splash of that, top it with water. It'll be a very nice drink. Or I can use it to make cocktails with the limoncello. In the UK, there's a dessert company called Goo, and everything comes in these little glass jars. I've kept several over the years and I've just got a big bag full of them. So I've been thinking, well, it'd be nice to do something with those. So I'm gonna pour some mousse, maybe 6 or 8 of them. We'll see how much I get out of the mixture. First thing I'm going to do is puree down an avocado. The only trouble with avocado is you never know what you've got inside until you open it up. So this might be all brown and manky, but we'll find out. So I'm just going to cut this in half. I mean, give the darker bit a try if you want to, and if it tastes bitter, discard it, but that, from experience, I know should be fine. It's only got a slight bit of discoloration. So I'm just going to get rid of the stone. Comes out quite easily. Be really careful when you do that, because otherwise you can go straight through your hand. I'm going to scoop out the avocado from the skin. I'm going to see how smooth I can get it with just a fork, but I might get the blender in just because I want it ultra smooth. So I'm kind of splatting it with a spatula just to try and force lumps out. So avocado is a very fatty fruit, so it just gives a nice mouthfeel. A little bit of fat without having to use cream or anything. I think that'll do. There's a couple of lumps, but I'm kind of losing patience with it. To boost up the intensity of the chocolate, I'm going to add in some cocoa powder and some instant coffee. I just put some instant coffee granules in the pestle and mortar and ground it down just so it's a powder. If you don't want any coffee in, just leave it. Tip the coffee in. And then I think I'll do 2 teaspoons of cocoa powder. Mix that together. That's all thoroughly combined. Nice and gooey. I'm going to melt the chocolate in the microwave. Now sometimes if you add cold things into warm chocolate, the chocolate seizes. So I think what I might do is ping the avocado mix in the microwave just to get the chill off it. So bring it warm, not hot or anything, but just a little bit of warmth to it, because then hopefully it won't seize up and be unusable and grainy. I'm struggling to decide how to do this. Because I'm going to whip aquafaba, that can take like 10 minutes to get stiff peaks on it. So I'm just worried about doing the chocolate now and then leaving it for 10 minutes. Is it going to cool down, and then just be a bit unworkable? I'm going to carry on deciding, and in the meantime, I'm going to just give the bowl a wipe with some vinegar. When you're whipping aquafaba, and it's the same for egg whites when you're doing like a meringue, you need to have everything completely grease-free, because otherwise that can interrupt the kind of whipping ability. So everything's been super cleaned. I've given it a really good wash with hot water and soap. But just as a precaution, I'm going to wipe everything with a bit of white vinegar. You want like a neutral vinegar if you can. So I'll give the cake beaters a wipe, the bowl a wipe, and the spoon that I'm going to fold with. I'm going to do the chocolate now, and then I'll leave it in the microwave, and that'll hopefully retain a bit of heat, and then I can always ping it for 30 seconds if I need to, because I just don't know what would happen if I was whipping the aquafaba and then broke off. I don't know if it would start collapsing. I've got 140 grams of chocolate chips, so I'm just going to ping that for a minute and then we'll see how we're looking. had a minute. Let's have a look. It's starting to melt at the bottom. So I'm just going to kind of mix things around a little bit. Put it in for another minute. Oh yes, melted chocolate. Yeah, so that's perfect. So that was 3 minutes in total. So I'm now just going to blast the avocado mixture. Yeah, I think that should be okay. It's warm, but it's not hot. So I'm just going to scoop the avocado into the chocolate, give that a good mix together. If you want, you can just make a chocolate mousse that way. It's quite a dense one. It's, you know, it's tasty enough. But I just want to get lots of air in there, which is why I'm going to use the aquafaba. And that's nicely mixed together. So I'm going to pop that back in the microwave, and then it can just keep a little bit of warmth to it, hopefully. And I promise you, it does not taste like avocado. I'm going to add the limoncello now, just so I don't forget to do it. I didn't want to put it in while it was being microwaved, just in case it burned off too much of the alcohol. I think I'll do 2 tablespoons of the limoncello. The problem is because the limoncello is cold, this might cause problems. No, that's fine, it's not seizing. I had a second of panic then. So this is the aquafaba that I'm going to use. Aquafaba is like the water you get in a can of chickpeas. I guess what happens is the proteins in the chickpeas leach out into the water, and it just creates a bit of a kind of firm structure when you start introducing air to it. So that's the aquafaba. So it's ever so slightly thick. It's got like a almost gloopy sort of texture. So you can see, even if I just stir it a little bit, you get these bubbles, which is a great sign. I'm going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. If I remember correctly from when I did the James Beard sponge cake that failed, cream of tartar is tartaric acid. If you don't have this, you can use like apple cider vinegar or distilled white vinegar, that kind of thing. Not malt vinegar, not the stuff you use on your chips, because that will taste bad. This just helps stiff peaks form. Last night I Googled to see if it was possible to do this in a blender, just to save my wrists from the cake mixer. Apparently you can't get enough air into the mixture while it's in a blender. They said it's possible to do it in the food processor, but it doesn't always work. So I thought, oh, I'll just do the cake mixer to be on the safe side. You can do it by hand, but it's gonna take forever. Yeah, so it's a good workout for your arms, I suppose. I might just do 1/8 teaspoon of the cream of tartar to start with. And then I'll go in with the cake mixer. This has had about 7 minutes. Let's see, it's peaking, which it is. So that's what stiff peaks means. So it forms a very pointy, definite peak. So now I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of icing sugar, but I'll do it one at a time. I've sieved the icing sugar into a little dish just to get any lumps out. And I'll put that by the side and do a little bit at a time while the beater's running. So there we go, it's all whipped and amazing. Getting it to this stage took about 13 minutes, but I did have to stop and sieve the icing sugar because I'd forgotten to do that. You'll know when it's ready when you can invert the bowl over your head. It's done. Yes. So it's all pillowy and lovely and light. So now it's time to add the chocolate in here. When it comes to the whipped aquafaba, it's the same as egg whites. Whipped egg whites, you need to be really, really gentle with it. So it's not really stirring, you're folding. I'm just going to stir the chocolate, make sure it's still good temperature. So it's slightly warm. I think that should be okay. I'm now going to put this into the whipped aquafaba a little bit at a time. But to make this a bit looser, I'm going to put some of the aquafaba mix in. You can see how thick and pillowy that is. Oh, it's incredible. So I'm going to splodge that in and work that into it. And this just makes the mixture a bit looser and easier to handle. And then I'll add spoonfuls of the chocolate into the aquafaba. So folding, what you're doing is really just turning it over and pulling it through. And we're folding it because we want to keep as much of that air in as we can to give that light, fluffy texture. It could be that maybe the chocolate was a little bit too warm because that's already lost quite a lot of volume, but I think it's still going to have enough air in it. Maybe let the bowl cool down outside of the microwave once you've melted the chocolate and mixed it with the avocado. So that looks nice and even. There's no big streaks of the chocolate or anything. Got 6 of them to start with. We'll see how we get on. They're all filled, that one a little bit less so, but because they're uneven, I'm just going to try smacking it on the counter and see if that flattens the top off a bit. Which it does. So that's them all in the pots. So I'm going to pop these into the fridge where hopefully they'll set a little bit, be a bit firmer, and then we'll do some eating. We're back and ready to eat some chocolate mousse. So it looks like it's set nicely. There's a little bit of give to it. It's been sitting for about 2.5 hours, maybe closer to 3. Just left it in the fridge chilling out. Yeah, and it's not oozing everywhere, so I think it's nice and set. I'm hoping that's in focus for you. It's really difficult to see in that tiny little window there, but it's full of air holes, which is a really good sign. Let's have a try. Really delicate. Very, very fluffy. That's surprisingly good. Touch grainy maybe. And I don't know if that's from the aquafaba or the avocado. I'm not sure. But not enough to be unpleasant. Because it's not using any dairy, it's not claggy. It doesn't kind of sit in your mouth and then just feel a bit sickly. It's just really light. Leaves you with a lovely taste, but none of that coating on the roof of your mouth. The limoncello gives it kind of a mildly boozy kick, just a little bit of a lift. I think I did 2 tablespoons of the limoncello. Feel free to put more in there if you want. Just be mindful, the more liquid that goes into it, the more it might deflate the aquafaba. With the lemon peels, once I finished filming, I just coated everything in a bit of granulated sugar and then just put them back on the trays. It's gone a little bit like a chewy sweet, that kind of thing. That makes you a really nice dessert. Have it just on its own like that, or you could do some vegan whipped cream to serve with it, or you could do like a little biscuit. Maybe the hazelnut twirls that I did for the creme brulee. I'll stick a link in the description for you if you wanted something else to serve with it. If you don't have the ramekins, you could do it in small coffee cups or just do it in a big bowl and serve big spoonfuls of it. That's also fine. When I went to bed last night, my plan was to make up a small batch of the caramels that I made and do some of that at the bottom of the dish and then put the mousse on top. But my fatigue is horrendous at the moment and I knew if I did that, it would just be too much for my body. It's a shame because that would be really nice. It had a nice bit of texture on the bottom. I'm wondering if that would make a nice kind of layered dessert. So do a big, maybe cake on the bottom and then perhaps some of the caramel in the middle and then pile on the mousse on top and then let that set for a couple of hours. I think that'd be really good. But yeah, that's deliciously light. It's got avocado in, so it's practically health food. Once I've done the thumbnail photos tomorrow, I might put one of them in the freezer and see how it freezes, whether it becomes like a nice ice cream frozen dessert sort of thing, because I think it will. And the limoncello in there will stop it setting rock hard. But yeah, so I'll update the pinned comment, let you know how that turned out. Hit subscribe and tap the bell icon for more evidence that a vegan dessert doesn't have to mean fruit salad. And then head over to this one.